Hi, welcome to Once Upon a Word. I'm Mark. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a really quick way to really boost your language learning. So this way is by reading an ebook and listening to an audiobook of the same book at the same time. So what you can see on my screen now is a Japanese book I'm reading called Konbini Ningen. That means convenience store woman. And on the left is the audiobook of the same book. So you may ask, why are you listening and reading the same book at the same time? Why is that good? Well, there's 4 reasons. One is it's really good for pronunciation. So the audiobook is read out by a native speaker, obviously, and somebody with good pronunciation. So I know that when they're reading this book, when I'm reading it, I can see the words read out professionally and perfectly. So in Japanese, the problem is that one word can be read in different ways. Like it can have totally different pronunciations. And for other languages like English, like words and sentences, the pronunciation changes depending on the context of the sentence, of the word that comes next, and so on. So by listening and reading at the same time, you get exposure to a great quantity of language. This is important and leads to the second point. Like, it's really good for your listening skills, because when you listen to an audiobook read out by a native speaker, it's like you get to listen at native speed. So straight away, your brain has to adjust to native speed speech. At first, you may find this a little bit difficult and think, oh, this is too hard for me. But quite soon, you'll get used to it. And you'll get used to, your brain will just adjust and you'll be surprised at what the brain can do. Thirdly, it's really good for your vocabulary, because reading an audiobook and hearing an audiobook, you're getting different types of input. So sometimes you may recognize a word when it's spoken, or you may recognize a word when it's written. But it may be the other way around. You may not know it when it's spoken, or you may not know it when it's written. But together you get both inputs. So you maybe have more support and have more chances to understand what you're reading or what you're listening to. The second point about vocabulary is that you're exposed to a greater quantity of vocabulary, and you get to see a word in different contexts. So this is really important because linguists say you have to see a word in 16 different contexts to really understand it or know how to use it. And that's because a word has got more than one meaning a lot of the time. It may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meanings. So you have to see a word not just in one context, but in many contexts. And you may have to see that word repeatedly. So this is something that reading can do, particularly reading fiction or longer fiction. You'll see words used in many different types of ways. Because it's read out by a native speaker, you'll be reading quicker than you usually would. And so you'll be forced to read a huge quantity of words. Last point, I think it's really good for your grammar. Again, like vocabulary, you get to see grammar used in different contexts. So even though you may know like one grammar formula or different types of grammar, seeing it in a different context can reinforce your understanding, can deepen your understanding. Okay, next I'm going to show you the Kindle and Audible websites quickly. Okay, so this is the Kindle website, Audible website. So at the top here, the second tab is Library, and then if you click on it, if if you start to use it, the books you read will get saved here. So this is convenient again, and like for each book, it says how long the book is. So this one is 9 hours. Convenient again is an hour and a half. And with Audible, what I did is I signed up to their plan where you're allowed to choose one book per month from their entire catalogue. Within that plan, there's also, you can read a selection of books that they've chosen. But I thought that plan was good because I could read books which I wanted to choose myself, that I wanted to read myself. Okay, so now I'm showing you the Kindle and the Audible player. So a couple of things I want to just make sure you know is that use the bookmark functions on the Kindle or ebook app and the Audible app. This is really important because this is really important because when you stop reading one day, you want to be able to come back to the book the next day at the same place. So by bookmarking your audio and bookmarking your book, your ebook, you know that you can come to the same place the next day. One tip for bookmarking is that on the ebook, try to think about bookmarking on the first sentence. So that means when you come back to it the next day, you know that you can open your book and just read the first sentence, and that's where you should start when you start the audio. If you just bookmark from like the middle, the next day you might forget where you left off. And in your second language, it might be harder to find the space where you left off. So yeah, always try to bookmark from the same place. And on the Audible player, you can change the speed. I always try to keep the speed at just normal speed because like I want to get practice at normal speed listening. If I changed it to half speed here, then I'll get used to listening to speech at half speed. So that's not really going to help me when I speak to native speakers because usually native speakers don't know that they need to speak at half the speed for you to understand it, for you to understand them. So yeah, keep it at native speed, and you'll be surprised at how quickly that you'll just get used to that level, that speed of speech. Okay, so now going back to the websites. So I showed you Audible and the Amazon website where you can get the free book, the ebook and the audiobook. But if you want to do this for free, you can come to Project Gutenberg. So they've got over 60,000 free ebooks. The one thing is that these ebooks are usually not new books. They're books which are out of copyright. So their US copyright has expired. So that usually means they are, books where they've been written 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, so over 100 years ago, and the copyright has expired, so they're free to use. So you're not going to get books which are popular this year or last year or the last 10 years, usually. You can also get audiobooks from Project Gutenberg, and these are free as well. They've got 16 languages with more than 50 audiobooks in each of the languages. So these tend to be the more popular or more well-spoken languages, such as Chinese, English, Spanish, etc. Another problem I think with Project Gutenberg is not just that they're old books, but sometimes the editions of the books are different between the ebook and the audiobook. One good thing about the paying for a book using Amazon Kindle or Audible audiobook is that you can see on the Amazon page for the book that they're the same edition. So on Amazon, same editions are put together on the same page. So you know that the text you read will be the same as the audio you listen to. On Project Gutenberg, you have to check yourself if whether that is the case. And yeah, it takes a bit more work to work that out. A second place you can find free audiobooks is on YouTube. So this is a free Japanese audiobook, which is quite famous, Botchan, and somebody has uploaded themselves reading this book. So if you can get a free copy of the book or the ebook, you can use YouTube and the book in conjunction. Again, these are probably older books which are not in copyright, which are out of copyright, so you can use them freely. Okay, so just to round up, let's go back to the Kindle book. So I think listening to the Kindle book and listening to the audiobook and reading the ebook is good because it lets you hear native people pronounce words, which is really important when you're learning a second language and you're not sure how certain words are pronounced. It improves your listening skills because you can listen to a native speaker read. And this is kind of like children, I think, how they learn a language. They get exposed to lots and lots of language every day by people speaking to them. And as an adult, that's hard to get. But you can do this by listening to audiobooks and reading at the same time. It exposes you to lots of language, so you get to see vocabulary and grammar in different contexts. So you see all different meanings of words, and you can see different ways to use grammar. So there's two different ways you can get books. Either go through Amazon and use the Kindle version and the Audible audiobook version of the books, or go to Project Gutenberg. Amazon is good for the newer books, and Project Gutenberg is good because it's free. Okay, I hope that's helped, and yeah, please let me know how you find it if you do this reading method. As I say, I've been using it for my Japanese learning, and it's really, really helped. So I think it's good, not just from a teacher's point of view, but from a student's point of view. Okay, see you next time. Cheers. Bye.